I will next call up a panel composed of Michael Harris, Jim Wallace, and John Green from the Gun Owners Action League.
How's that? All right. My name is Michael Harris. I am the Director of Public Policy for the Gun Owners Action League in Massachusetts. I worked for about a decade in the legislature for a few different representatives and senators. I was the legislative director for DCR for a little while, so I know a lot of you up on the panel. I've been with GOAL for about 3 years. But I'm not going to thank you for the opportunity to be here today because I'm not really thankful. I'm pretty angry that I have to be here, honestly. Angry that organizations like GOAL have to exist and that the fundamental civil right to defend oneself and their family is treated with such disdain by our government. This bill is 123 dense pages, and it was released last Thursday, October 5th, the day before a holiday weekend. This means that the public and other legislators only had 2 business days to read and absorb what's in this bill and to prepare for today's hearing. It's also a preliminary election day for 3 cities and towns and a special state primary for the Worcester and Hampshire district for the Senate. One of the candidates for that seat is Peter Durant. Thank you for being here. Hopefully future senator. He's the current ranking Republican on the House Committee of the Judiciary, and forcing him to choose to be here or in his district for the race is not really awesome. But thank you for being here. To me, today kind of feels like an attempt to limit the amount of opposition that this bill will face today. I attended most of the listening tour stops and was excited that GOAL was given a seat at the table. We volunteered our time, information, and our reputation to the discussion, and we were optimistic about our time working with the House. And what initially seemed like a collaborative effort ended in kind of a feeling of betrayal, honestly, in our community and in our organization. This bill in HD.4407 barely contained a single sign that GOAL or responsible gun owners were ever really involved in the conversation. Our group represents a significant part of the population in the Commonwealth that is often silent and want to be left alone. Unfortunately, this bill does the direct opposite, taking direct aim at responsible gun owners rather than addressing issues of crime or mental health. And like it or not, the right to keep and bear arms in the United States is just that. It's a civil right, and deliberations about the Second Amendment issues deserve more than the seemingly cursory treatment it's receiving with today's hearing. The last minute. Police departments, municipal governments, and state and national experts have denounced many of the provisions in this bill, but here we are. So, thank you. Sure. Pleasure.
Good morning. My name is Jonathan Green. I've been Director of Education and Training at Gun Owners Action League for 24 years. I have educated thousands of Massachusetts residents and law enforcement on our morass of gun law and regulation in this state. 4607 only confuses this more. I also sit on the Governor's Challenge Council to reduce suicide among veterans and their families, something I am honored to be part of. We've educated our mental health professionals of the terrible rules and regulations and backlog and lack of mental health for folks needing it. Nobody on the Governor's Challenge Council was asked to provide any input into 4607. I find that shameful. They have expert testimony and knowledge. I often work with law enforcement, teaching them about the changes in our gun laws going back from 1998, known as the Chapter 180, the Gun Control Act of 1998. Right? The government has failed to educate citizens and law enforcement. Still much confusion from those sets of laws and changes in our regulations. 4607 will only compound that. You have failed to speak with members of the Mass State Police. I know because I work with them daily, the ones that would be charged with implementing the training that you all seek. Governor Day, Michael Day, I ask, how many state ranges do we have in Massachusetts? Does anybody on the committee know that answer? We don't have any state ranges in Massachusetts. Your bill would require a live fire. I ask, what problem does that solve? We have over 29 different approved basic firearm safety courses in Massachusetts with thousands of well-intentioned and well-experienced trainers. This bill does nothing to make Massachusetts safer. Our urban communities that suffer violence perpetrated by evildoers, this bill does absolutely nothing to address this. It's simply an attack on our civil rights. I attended many of your listening stops and was even asked to be a panelist for one of them in Lawrence. Michael Day, you started every listening tour with LTC holders are not the problem. LTC holders are not the problem. Good sir, I have over 120 pages in my hand that say you lied to us because this bill affects nobody but the people trying to be lawful gun owners in Massachusetts. In closing, the fact that this bill was released with 1 business day to review it, 1 business day to review it is an absolute sham, and whoever scheduled that should be ashamed of themselves. That's all I have to say.
Derek, you got a staple gun? You know, since Thursday, I've been trying to figure out what I'm going to say because there's no sense in actually getting into the nitty-gritty of the bill. And this isn't an insult, but I don't think anybody in front of me knows what's in it. I spent 10 hours Saturday, thank you very much, on a holiday weekend, tearing apart a new version that was supposed to be better. And we're still finding things days later. So I'm not sure what to say other than no. No. There's nothing in this bill that's going to reduce crime. There's nothing in this bill that's going to keep the victims of domestic violence safer. There's nothing in this bill that's going to reduce suicide. There's nothing in this bill that gives inner cities more tools and resources to fight the violent crime that, frankly, this bill is only going to increase because you're disarming almost an entire populace. What do you think's going to happen? And I will honestly say, I think you've been disingenuous to the people in the T-shirts behind me because they really believe that you're doing something that's going to make them safer, and you've lied to them. That's not what this bill does. But I'll leave you with this. This is, and I hope you understand the gravity of this moment. This is the most egregious attack on civil rights I have seen from a government in this century in Massachusetts and nationwide. This is nothing but a tantrum after Bruin. And even though there's nothing in here to reduce crime, suicides, and everything else, first time in my career, I'm going to say this, you might have a bigger problem because 600,000 lawful citizens are going to tap out. We're done. We're done. 25 years of trying to comply with the garbage laws that have only increased crime and suicide in Massachusetts. And now you're going to do it again and make it worse? This bill, believe it or not, is so strict that if Joe Biden came in to visit Massachusetts, their Secret Service detail would have to leave their guns in D.C. It's in the bill. And I'll bet you nobody knows it. So I would urge everybody in this building to tread very cautiously on how you proceed with this thing, because you're going to make history, and it's not going to be good history. Let's go, guys.
Thank you.